I didn't get dressed up for tonight.
Good. Right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 10th, 2022 meeting of the Litchfield Board of Selectmen. We've been in paperwork session and just a general BS session, and we're going to kick the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, put on the cheetahs. All right. So we have first up, we have the review and approval of consent items. We have an AP manifest from January 11th of $137,050.89. Payroll manifest for January 13th of $57,791.98. We have one veterans tax credit for $1,200. And we have a purchase order, hashtag M-22-01 camera broadcast equipment in the amount of $22,295. Entertain a motion to accept them.
I'll make a motion to accept them.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just wanted to let the board know that that purchase order is coming from the cable revolving fund. And John Brunel is working on, obviously he's got a contract and he's securing equipment to set up the community room over at the fire station so that the cable operators can show up and literally, as he explained it to me, plug a laptop in or an iPad and they can actually do a live broadcast. And I think they can do remote control to the camera equipment and everything. So that's why you see that large amount there. It's pretty up-to-date, expensive equipment, but it will allow us that ability to broadcast live.
And you say it's out of the cable fund.
It's out of the cable fund, not the operating budget. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, like that. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll entertain a vote. Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 4-0-0.
Thanks, Troy, for the clarification, because now I understand it.
One thing I forgot to mention is that Chairman Weber will not be with us tonight. Hope everything turns out well in the household. Get back soon, because I'm very uncomfortable doing this. All right. Do we have any requests for additional items or other business anyone wants? I did send something to you about possibly discussing the town's COVID policy.
Oh, yeah.
Those that come in contact.
I have that
Okay.
in my town administrator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. And public input will occur no earlier than 6:45 PM. Under business, we have the December 22nd, 2021 minutes. Everybody have a chance to check them out? Any changes, suggestions? None?
I have none.
We'll entertain a motion to accept.
I will.
Motion by Mr. Lynch,
I'll second the motion.
second by Mr. LaSalle's. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, Ms. Queenan?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's? I'm also an aye. Motion carries 4-0-0. Now, public hearing for the Emergency Management Performance Grant of $50,000. Mr. Brown will tell us what it's about.
Okay. So I do have Captain Scotty here, who is the author of the grant application. But due to the fact that this grant application exceeds $10,000, we are required pursuant to state law to hold a public hearing. Notice has been published in a newspaper, and we have published on our website and here at the town office. I'm going to let Captain Scotty explain to you what the application is for and what the benefit will be to the town.
So this is.
Come on up, Captain Scotty. Come on up. Don't be shy. Try to invite.
You want me in the hot seat? Yeah. So this is
Try don't
FEMA
bite
money
much.
that has been subgranted to us by the
by the HSCM through the state.
Okay.
So, and this money is for critical infrastructure, which our radio infrastructure needs standby generators in the event that there's a power outage. So that way the system doesn't crash and go down. And so this grant covers, it's a match grant. So it's a $25,000 pitch in from the state or from the feds that's subgranted to us. But we've already spent, we can use the funds that we already spent on the tower project as the match. So that money's already been spent. We don't need to spend an additional 25,000. It's already been part of the project itself. So this will cover the cost of 3 generators or thereabouts, roughly, for all of the tower sites.
Very good. You guys are always good at finding money. It saves the taxpayers. So that's a really good thing. Thank you for that.
No problem.
And I just let the board know that Mr. Brunel wanted to be here with Captain Scotty to present and answer any questions, but he also had a family situation occur, just so was unable to be here.
I'm just curious, with the cold weather that brutal cold weather that we're anticipating, what sort of plans does the town have if, let's say, we have a elderly couple who runs out of oil or their furnace breaks or something? What sort of plans do we have for something like that?
We have funds available for that, and if we were to receive a phone call that there was a furnace broken, they were out of fuel or about to run out of fuel, in this type of situation, when you're looking at these extreme temperatures, we would not be referring them. We would assist, and then work with them from that point forward to get them on, a regular program. It does happen when we get into these extreme situations.
Do we have is that something at some point, would we open Campbell or do we have a
Oh, if you're talking,
Shelter?
if we had we get into extreme
storm?
ice storm and we have a power outage for 3 days, then we would have the emergency management director would, formalize our emergency management response team. And yes, we would activate the plan. And I believe we have the generator at Campbell High School.
Yep.
And that is one of the locations that we would have as a shelter.
Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
And everybody knows to reach out to the town they should know to reach out if they know somebody that's in need. There is help available. Very good. So,
Every other house in town has a generator now too, so.
Lots of work.
Okay, go see your neighbor.
Yep.
You know?
Best way to ensure that you don't have a power outage is to go out and buy a generator.
So Chairman Leary, I think what we'll do is, at this point in time, open it up for public comment, see if there's any public comment. And once that comment's submitted, close the hearing, and then we need a vote of the board to authorize the acceptance of the funds.
make a motion to open public comment.
So move.
Motion,
Second.
second. All those in favor? Ms.
Aye.
Lascelles?
Aye.
Ms. Lynch? Ms. Queen?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries 400. Public hearing. We do have a member of the public here. Are you here for this?
No.
Oh, do you want to say something?
Okay.
He's okay. Okay, very good. I think it's a great thing, guys. It's a good job. Okay,
I'll make a motion. We close public input.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Any discussion?
all right, all those in favor? Ms. Lascelles?
All right.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Ms. Queen?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries 400. Public hearing is now closed. And we'll entertain a motion to accept these funds.
I'll make a motion, we accept the funds.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all's in favor, Ms. Queenan,
Aye.
Mr. Lynch,
Aye.
Mr. Lascelles.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries 400. Again, great job, man.
Thank you.
Great, great.
Thanks, Scotty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next time, it's the time.
Yes, sir.
Professional.
Yeah, it's a,
All right. Okay. So before we go into all the warrant article reviews, why don't we open it up a little bit early for public comment? Because there is a gentleman from the public here. Does anybody have a problem with that?
I have no issue with that.
6:45?
no problem.
You can sit anywhere you would like. There are plenty of chairs. Find a mic, give us your name and address.
Troy bites.
Troy's very popular.
You ain't quiet, are you? Joe Cabral, Brickyard Drive, Litchfield. Okay. I go to the breakfast, lunch once in a while during the week. I get people in town that will come up to me still. One was, they weren't happy with the fire chief's thing of going. So that's bingo. That's all I'm bringing up on that.
Mhm.
Okay. That was a few people that were upset. The other one is the trucks that we're getting for the police and the fire, the chief's vehicles.
The admin vehicles?
Right.
Okay.
All right. Everybody feels that they should be fully marked so you can see them and everything.
Mhm.
Because, a chief's isn't. And everybody goes, you go to every other town, Merrimack, everywhere, the chief's vehicle is fully marked, command vehicle, all the marking, striping, bingo. And,
Okay. I've always been a proponent that they should at
Okay,
least have
yeah.
the town seal on them.
well, it's just that, I go to breakfast and these
Yeah.
people bump into me and, I'm not afraid to come up, and say anything. So,
Mhm.
guys know that anyway.
I agree that, I think it should be marked. It's been, every vehicle we got, there's always been marked.
Yep.
Okay, and,
I would at least put the town seal.
the
on
town
them.
seal and say fire chief or something underneath or something like that, or police chief, whatever you gotta do.
Yeah, because like in the case of the police, it's not an actual cruiser, it's an admin vehicle, right?
Right.
Right.
So it's not fully equipped, so.
Right.
Maybe not with all the,
Not with all the other stuff,
Dressings
no,
of the
but
other
I'm just
cruisers,
saying, so
yeah.
you know who the chief's
But-
vehicle is.
This vehicle's gonna be fully equipped. So
Which
it
one?
should be marked because it is a command vehicle.
The command vehicle is good?
yeah, we have discussed that. We should probably wait until Mr. Weber comes back the next meeting and we'll.
But I'm just saying,
Take a vote to-
just that I've been hit with
Take
it.
a vote to make it a policy?
Okay.
I would like to see that. I won't get hit at breakfast anymore on Sunday.
Oh, you're always gonna get hit by something.
Yeah, I know. That's what happens. It was when you did the chief, I got hit with that and I didn't want to come just for that.
Mhm.
And then bingo, the truck thing. So last week you guys did it. I think you come in on the command vehicles somewhere in
Yeah.
there. And then I got hit with that again.
Mhm.
I said, okay, I got two now. I can go.
2 strikes and you're coming?
Yeah. And I'll come up.
Very good.
So that's all I got.
Okay, Joe.
Come anytime you want.
Yep. Only if I get two. I'm not coming for one.
We're always, we're always,
I ain't coming wasting my time for one.
Okay.
All right. You guys have a good night. Stay warm.
thank you for coming.
Yep.
Joe.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
You're shoveling my driveway tomorrow, right? No,
Huh?
never mind.
I don't shovel. I'll plow it. Yeah, you get stuck. Call me. You know
I
that.
know. Thanks, Joe.
Keep that John Deere tractor going.
It's going.
Mine's fixed.
Mine's fixed now.
Yeah, the only comment I'd have on that is that if the board is, this has come up several times, and if the board is going to look at it, I just encourage you to look at the whole picture. I would look at the chiefs, the captains, the detective, the building inspector, all these vehicles that are assigned to employees, and make sure you understand what they're used for, what the purpose is, what equipment's in them, because everyone is, as we've always said,
We're
everyone should
fully
be
aware of
treated.
that.
Yep, exactly
Everyone
the
should be
same.
treated the same.
We understand.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. The only one I would be against marking would be the detectives for obviously
Yeah.
reasons.
And they have a special.
The other ones, yeah, but the same, exactly. Yep. Very good. Is there anybody else wants
Public.
public input? That being said, there's no
Turn the
one
camera
else. We'll close public input. So now we will go into the 2022 warrant article review and approval. Mr. Brown.
So we don't really need to review. I just wanted to give the board an update on the budget committee approved all of our articles except the fire engine. A lot of the articles received unanimous approval. So it was really a very supportive night, a good exchange between the budget committee and the town. So again, I know we've said this previously, but we really had a really good process from the start to finish. I'm pleased with the outcome. The budget committee, you could tell that I think they didn't take a vote or anything, but just some of the comments made, many appeared to be pretty supportive of the fire engine, but because of the tax cap, they couldn't support it. I have been told that the planning board will have 4 articles, so I will be renumbering the articles to accommodate, those 4. Right now, we just had a placeholder for 2 articles for zoning. We received, since the last time we met, we received a petition article to increase the veterans credit from, I don't know why it says 50, it's supposed to be $500 to $750. And the town clerks received that. They verified all the signatures are registered voters of Litchfield, so that will be placed on the warrant. And the selectmen, you will need to take a position on that, as well as before this evening, I wanted you to vote on the operating budget, because we've really been holding off on that for the budget committee to set it, even though I think, we are in agreement with it. Officially, you need to vote to adopt that.
My veterans credit says 500 to 750.
My computer is looking funny here tonight, but which is weird. But anyhow, it looks different than when I left the office. So
So do we want to go back and just
but it's
visit each one?
we can go back, but I just wanted to say that for citizens petitions, that Tuesday, January the 11th, which is tomorrow, is the deadline. So it's possible. I haven't heard anything, but it's possible you could receive a petition tomorrow.
I think the budget committee's been really good with the town, and I think a lot of it has to do with our departments have been really tight. And I mean, we let the department heads know about
Budget.
not overspending. So I think that's pretty huge. And a good thank you goes out to all of our department heads. I think everyone did a fantastic job. And Troy, thank you for everything that you and Karen do. It's phenomenal. It's been the 3 years I've been here. It's been a pretty good process with the budget committee.
I think in a weird sort of way, the tax cap makes it easier, because everybody knows you have a limit.
Yep.
And that doesn't allow for a lot of squandering,
Right.
Yeah.
It's tight.
All right, Troy, I guess we'll just do the Reader's Digest version through the Warrant articles. Everybody knows what they are.
Yeah, I'll just, so the first one that I'd need you to act on is Article 4, which again, they'll be renumbered, but the operating budget. The budget committee has recommended 9,000, a operating budget of $7,413,037 with a default budget, which is set by this board, not by the budget committee, of $7,364,547. So at this point, the board has not taken a position, waiting for the budget committee to approve the operating budget. So I will let you know that a couple of meetings ago, I brought to this board some adjustments, and some of those adjustments were increases and some of them were decreases. And the budget committee went through those adjustments, and they've accepted all of them. And with your vote here, you're accepting all the adjustments that the budget committee made as well. So, because they did make some reductions.
It's less than a $50,000 difference between the two budgets, so that's pretty lean. All right. We'll entertain a motion to accept the Article 4, the operating budget.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Lynch,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Queenan. Any discussion? All right, take a vote. Ms. Queenan,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's,
All right.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 4-0-0. All right.
Oh, Look who's running tonight. Troy.
So most likely we'll vote on this again before we post it, just because the board's, Mr. Weber's not here this evening. And if we have 5 of us here, usually the board likes to have the opportunity to show a 500. But as of right now, if we have public hearing coming this Thursday, it will be 400.
Yep.
Recommended. So did you want to go through them just to highlight them and just refresh everyone's memory, even though we voted on them? Article 5 was the Human Services and Health Agencies. Those are those nonprofit groups that provide assistance and different services to the community. And the Budget Committee supported this 900. Budget Committee's Board of Selectmen supporting 500. The full-time highway position, creating a full-time highway position, just budgeting 6 months of that cost. So the position would hopefully start July 1st if approved. It would cost $41,736 for wages and benefits for the first 6 months. We're estimating that the total cost here, disclosing this to the voters in 2023, would be right around $85,607. So that's supported by the Board of Selectmen, 500, and recommended by the Budget Committee, 900.
Next.
Full-time school resource police officer position. This would take that part-time position and make it a full-time position. We're using the vacant part-time position right now that's in the budget. So there is no cost to the taxpayer in the first year. And then we disclose what the cost would be in 2023. That cost looks a little low, but you have to remember that we already have a part-time position budgeted for a full 12 months. So that 41,000 is the additional cost next year. So it's a really good plan. The Budget Committee supported this 900 and the Board of Selectmen 500. The part-time clerk position would create a part-time position, 20 hours, no benefits. This would have a cost of $9,144. Next year in 2023, estimated $18,323. This was recommended by the Board of Selectmen 401 and recommended by the Budget Committee 900. The fire engine lease purchase. We discussed this at a session. This would cost $147,948. We would make that payment in 2022.
That's the number for every year, right?
That's the number for every year for the next, if it's
years.
passed, for the next 5 years.
Okay. So it doesn't balloon. Okay.
Yeah. And it was recommended by the Board of Selectmen 500, and it was not recommended by the Budget Committee 360. Article 10 is the Property Revaluation Expendable Trust Fund. This is raising and appropriating $25,000 to be placed in the fund, a 4-year plan, put $25,000 away so that when we hit the revaluation in 2025, the funds will be available. This helps stabilize the tax rate so we don't have a $100,000 spike. We're using the unassigned fund balance, so there'll be no new taxation, no tax impact from new taxation. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 410 and recommended by the Budget Committee 630. Article 11 is the Technology and Communication Expendable Trust Fund. This is proposing to raise $12,000 to put into this fund. The purpose here it looks like a small amount, but we're just this year I'm just trying to get the funds back to the initial amount that was when they were established, or trying to increase the value in some of these funds to where I think that really should be based on the age of fleet that we have or the equipment. So this one, $12,000 would bring the capital reserve fund up to a $50,000 balance. Again, we'd be using the unassigned fund balance. There'd be no new tax impact from new taxes. Article 12 is the Fire Vehicle and Equipment Repair Expendable Trust Fund. We'd be placing $25,000 into the fund, trying to establish a $75,000 balance. We'd be using the unassigned fund balance again, no new tax impact. Again, we know that we're trying to get a new fire engine. We don't know if that will pass. If it does pass, it sounds like it's going to take at least a year and a half before we have the truck here in our community. And we have a aging fleet. So this is trying to recognize the fact that even if we get the new fire truck approved, we still have a year and a half to wait, and our fleet is aging. So we know that the chief has said, if you have to rebuild a pump, you could be looking at 30, 35,000, maybe more, just for one fire engine.
Troy,
Yeah.
we have talked about the possibility of an alternative funding mechanism for this. What do we need to do if we did that?
I don't, what was that discussion? Oh, so you're talking about the fire engine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there has been information that's come out with the ARPA funds that the town has been awarded. We've received half that payment. We had a public hearing a couple weeks ago, and we've accepted them. And it looks like with the final guidelines that have been adopted, in one of the categories, it discusses that you can purchase fire and police, equipment, and they gave an example as fire engines. So they actually, in their own guidance, they use the
Sent that
word
out to us.
fire engine. About 4 months ago, it wasn't clear, and we reached out to try to see if we could get some guidance, and the answer we got back wasn't really clear. So it put us in a position where we just didn't know. We were waiting for final guidance. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's a good discussion with the board to see if, do we keep the warrant article on and see what the vote is? I guess one of the concerns that I had just the other day thinking about this is we should be concerned about no means no. What would happen if this article is voted down? Does that mean that we wouldn't be able to use the ARPA funds to purchase a new fire engine? And I guess the board, you need to decide too, if you're going to use the ARPA funds, do we remove this as an article?
My
I don't
understand-
have a recommendation at this point in time.
My understanding, no means no, is if it doesn't get approved and the money is not there, it's no. But if you get it from some other funding that doesn't cost taxpayers, that's another.
I
whole
don't
different
think
picture.
it's going to be a no means no situation
Right.
because we're asking if they would purchase a fire engine, lease purchase for 5
Yeah.
years. That's
Whole
different than
different.
saying we're going to purchase a fire engine using grant money.
Yeah, you can grant the money and that's done.
But it may not be a bad idea to reach out
Town
to legal
council?
counsel and just see if there's one little sentence added to the warrant saying no means no will not apply to this if other funding sources are.
Correct. It's all about the money.
But I guess getting back to Rich's point, the question about do we go forward with this question? If we do and it passes, does the board have the legal right not to go out and do the lease purchase and just go do the cash purchase?
Let's find out. Let's get it.
In
addressed
my
with
mind, I'm
council.
thinking that might be the best way to proceed.
Yeah.
See if it passes. You secure the right to do it if for whatever reason we're not able to use the ARPA funds. And if you have the right to choose not to go out and do the lease purchase, what do you got to lose? At least you still have a vote.
Personally, I think dropping that much money on one item ties our hands with other areas that can be used. We have a lot of roads that still need repair and maintenance. There's a lot of things in the town. I'm in favor of letting it go to the voters and let them decide. And I do think no means no. If they say no, then we don't purchase it, period.
But if it
Until
doesn't
comes up again.
But if it doesn't
I think it's-
cost us.
I do think it's a different question.
It's a different
You're
question.
asking the taxpayer, do you want to have this payment? Do you want to create debt? And a lot of that can have a factor into their decision of saying yes or no.
Could be.
It
And then
could.
maybe the following year, we put a special or warrant article up that says we have the money available. Do you want to purchase it? But again, I don't know about spending this much money on one item. It's going to eat up most of that ARPA fund.
There has, and I'll just throw this out there because, it's going to get close to time where we need to finalize the warrant. I can reach out to law or legal counsel and ask her, say, this is the situation. Sometimes I've seen an article that will address the prior article and say, hey, if article whatever fails, would you support the Board of Selectmen purchasing a fire engine using ARPA funds?
I've been involved with this over the years where the idea of it is that the warrant or the budget is using taxpayers' money. That's the bottom line. And no means no in using taxpayers' money. But if this is a grant to Warp or whatever that device is, okay, and we can find out the legal technicality of, between the two, I would talk to Laura, one. But I don't think it falls into that same no means no, because you're not dealing with a tax base. You're just dealing with a grant. And we accept grants all the time and expend it for something. Okay.
Right.
So that's my way of thinking. I understand Bob's approach. Okay. But this is different because it's grant now. Okay. And we know we need a truck. The board has already agreed with that. Okay. This way to save the taxpayers some money. Yes. Okay. That's how I think about it. So we need to find out the legality of it. Okay.
One question, if we agreed to a lease purchase, could we use the ARPA funds on an annual basis just to pay the lease and not use it all up at once?
I believe you can.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying, Robert?
Yeah, I do.
So
But you're
you
still
could-
going to use $750,000 of the 900,000 available.
Well,
Well, I think what Rich is saying is that we have to have all the funds expended or committed by year 2026. So
That's
for
about
3
it.
years, the lease payment could come 100% from ARPA funding.
so that would mean the taxpayers would
Prove it, but the funding would come.
yes.
The numbers.
So if it fails this year, put it on next year for the taxpayers to decide if they want to use the ARPA funds. For the
We could
lease
do that.
payments.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
We still have the lead time.
But
with the
what,
truck,
yeah,
though.
the
A
problem
year and a half
is,
to 2 years, right?
I think you should, professionally, I think that you should have the warrants set up so that you don't have to wait a year. And that if that's an extra warrant article question or some extra language that's just added into this current question, because we know that every month that we delay placing an order, the prices are going up. And we know it's a year and a half once we commit before we even get the vehicle here. So waiting another year,
Going to affect the long term.
it really is setting it back.
I think
Quite
the
a bit.
thing that really sold me is when they said their newest truck was 20 years old. The newest truck was 20 years old.
Yep.
That sold me. I mean,
That alone, I have to agree.
we're on borrowed time, until something breaks down that's major. And, we don't anticipate people having fires, but hey, I mean, just, we've had, not that we have
Around us.
multi-storied apartment buildings, but, we've had several fatalities here recently on fires. But I think that we're really gambling if we don't do something about I think the time has come. However it happens,
I think that's something that being on the fire department myself for years, we had a lot of used vehicles, but we didn't have the population that we have now. Okay. And we had one new truck. It came in 1967 one. That thing lasted 20 plus years, the International. Then we went through two Fords in no time at all. Okay. They didn't last as long.
Bad
So,
maintenance.
okay. But they, I think Rich has got a point here. It's the age of the trucks. And that's my only reason why is the age. There should have been a recycling program or a looking at the trucks and the whole thing as a whole. But that's here or there. That's water over the dam. So as a member of the town, I like to keep at least one vehicle up there. And then the other two, then the other ones won't be used as much per se on a real call, because the pumpers and tankers are going to do. But that's how it's been done in the past. I know when engine 1 and engine 2 came on, the green Fords, we had green fire trucks.
Yeah.
Okay, which I think we should have green.
Did you have an Irish chief?
Green,
And Irish
green,
Chiefs.
white, and red.
Lime green. Okay, but they were Fords and they held up well for the amount of need we needed. But they wore out the pumps and everything else. So they weren't the most elaborate fire trucks.
Well, why don't I reach out to legal counsel, work with our fire chief, and see what we can come up with for an option that
I
can,
think
address these concerns.
no means
'Cause
no.
we need to
but
address no means no.
Yeah.
And then if the article fails, do we want to have an article that
we may have to throw something into to amend this.
it may be as simple as just adding a sentence onto the existing
I
article.
wouldn't want to amend it at this point.
Mm.
You can always amend
Let
it
go
on
to
the
the
floor, though.
voters.
You know what
Let
I'm
it go to the voters. If somebody does, I mean, that's their prerogative,
Mhm.
a deliberative.
They might change out for again, right? And take the fire truck out, right? Right now you can do it, right? But before we couldn't.
Right.
They might
we
all of a
can-
sudden
we're-
say,
we're
"Arbor,
kind
you
of short on
can't."
time, but we still have an opportunity we could change a little bit of the language on the warrant if we needed to just make it clear that no means no will not apply if this article is defeated.
There's still
In other words, you have some language saying if this article is defeated and the selectmen were to use grant funding, no means no will not apply.
It's all based off the
Covers all
tax dollar.
bases.
Yeah.
there's still bad taste in a lot of people's mouths in this town over a couple of years ago, an election that no didn't mean no. And as was stated by a member of another board in town, no doesn't necessarily mean no.
Mm.
When the voters speak, you listen. If you don't listen, we don't have a democracy anymore. I say, put it out there, let them vote on it, and then we'll come up with a plan after if they say no. But it's the people's choice, and it should be clear what they're voting on. Not if it fails, now what do we do?
We
Do
could,
disregard.
if it was necessary to amend the warrant article, we could do it right up to the deliberative.
Yeah, you
session.
can do it at deliberative.
They
Absolutely.
can do it at deliberative, but a citizen can do that.
We, the board, can do it once we figure out the legalities of the no means no. Too, as well.
I think what Robert's saying
Yeah.
is that
I know where he's coming from.
no means no, forget it.
Yeah,
Until
that's
the
it.
next bite of the apple.
And there's actually two items on the on the school warrants that if contracts are voted down, can they still have a special election to discuss the financial aspects of it and to have the town vote for a special meeting? And I think that when the town says no, it's no, no matter what the situation is. That's just me. I mean, there's 5 members here. Feel free to vote any way they want.
Mr. Chair, I would have the administrator look into the legalities of no means no in relation to the funding, and that's what I think it means, okay? But if you come on a grant during the year, we approve grants all the time here. Stuff that's not been voted on, because it's helpful for the town. So it's the same idea. I'm thinking that way.
Yeah. I mean,
Is that what everybody wants? Wants Troy to reach to legal and
Yep.
see what they say?
do some
Okay.
research, and at least we can find out what options we have, and maybe we just know what all the options, but we still stick to this plan. And like you say, if it's voted down, then you look at your options after March.
Very well. It's a democracy here.
I think I did the technology and communication.
Yes, you
Okay,
did.
we're on the fire vehicle equipment and the Public Works Expendable Trust Fund, $80,000, again, unassigned fund balance.
Mhm.
Trying to get this up to $100,000 with the intent here, if we can get that balance up, looking at the possibility of maybe we can acquire a couple used plow trucks from neighboring communities. Just something we'd like to look into. But don't get lost with that because the $100,000 is because there is, even though we've purchased some new trucks, the fleet is old and equipment costs a lot of, backhoes and front end loaders and heavy duty plow trucks cost a lot of money to repair. We have 3 trucks down right now and all 3 of them are the big ones out of service right now.
What's the deal?
One is the 2010 International, which is, was one of our newer trucks. And that he's only able, something to do with the fuel system or because he's only able to get it to go about 30 miles an hour. We drove it to the repair shop. So we're not really sure what that is. One of the old state surplus trucks that we bought, I don't really know how to explain it, but the rear axle, the spring C clamp and stuff, the whole thing that holds the axle together, it snapped and broke. So that had to be put on a trailer and brought to a repair shop. And the other state surplus plow truck, I forget what that one is. That one's out of service, and I think due to just rust and everything, I don't think that one's ever coming back on service. But these are old, these were used state plow trucks. The town purchased them way before my time, and they did their job. I think the town got them for like $20,000 or something. So
These new smaller trucks that we're getting, those seem to be working out.
they're working really well. Yep.
Were there any, we went through the flash freeze there last week. Any feedback about that at all, or?
No, I mean, unfortunately, in my report, I was going to let you know, and I think you're aware that we had an accident right when the flash freeze occurred on Albuquerque. One of our trucks slid off the road. It was only going maybe 25, 30 miles an hour, if that. But once it slid off the road and the tires gripped into the leaves and grass, the truck did one of these, but the weight of the sander, it snapped the straps and the sander just went and landed on the ground. It totaled the sander. We filed an insurance claim. We were able to secure a new sander down in Massachusetts. So that truck's back in service 100%. And so the beauty of that truck, which one of the ones we just purchased 2 years ago, it's not a dump truck. It's a what do you call that? Flatbed. So literally, we drove it down to the equipment store in Massachusetts, and they just took a forklift and dropped the new one on, and they plugged the hydraulics in, and
Tied it down.
Nobody was hurt.
nobody's hurt. The truck never. So in a real dump truck, it wouldn't have snapped. So you have to really think the sander took the hit, and the truck never rolled over. Some of the older style trucks,
Sure, I rolled it.
they would have rolled, most likely.
Where did it go off the road? I think of Albuquerque
just
being
a-
fairly flat.
I know it's just one of those gradual curves, but just enough to get the truck going a little bit. And when it hit the side of the road, it did that.
It's top heavy.
We
Kinda-
just
Kinda
they
came
just
down,
loaded the sand and
ripped it the
salt.
same way, yeah.
It was fully loaded.
We a load of
Still,
salt.
I mean, you hit that ice and
I hope you picked up the salt.
I think.
Yeah, expensive.
Salt's
it's
expensive.
getting expensive. So, okay.
Okay. Article 14, the conservation fund cap. That's asking the citizens if they would increase the cap from 1 million to 2,000 to 2,500,000. And the farmland capital reserve fund is taking that amount that exceeded the cap this year and
Adding it.
appropriating it and putting it into the farmland capital reserve fund.
Yep.
And we got Article 16, which is the petition to increase the veterans tax credit and the all veterans tax credit from 500 to 750 per year.
Mhm.
And
Petition.
just to recap, everyone, when this petition came in a couple years ago, it came in at $750.
Mhm.
And I think there was some discussion at deliberative session with the Board of Selectmen, Budget Committee. I don't know if they officially weighed in, but there was a lot of discussion, people concerned that the jump from 300
Yep.
all the way to 750 was too much.
Mhm.
And the petitioners agreed at deliberative to amend the article down to 500. And they said that, in a couple of years, maybe we'll come back. And
Mhm.
so this was not a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise. It's back to the original petition amount.
And it's reasonably within the range of where our neighboring towns have it. I believe Londonderry is at least 750,000. There's a few others, but we had this a couple of years ago too, before it went to budget, because we thought it was too big a jump at once.
We're estimating right now we know we have, the number changes every day, but we have 400 eligible people for this. And so that's why we're anticipating the cost of this is about $100,000. I don't know why it says not recommended by the Board of Selectmen, but anyhow, if you want to vote on this, Budget Committee does not vote on it because it's not raising and appropriating any money. It's just establishing it's really like a policy. It's a credit limit.
So if everything passes, the tax rate is 35 cents.
Where do you see that?
You just add up the impacts. 9 cents for the budget, 3 for the highway.
Oh, okay.
Resources, nothing. Clerk is a penny. 12 cents for the fire engine.
Yeah.
Et cetera, down the road. So,
From a conflict of interest standpoint, since Robert and I,
Yeah, and then
you
you're
can't
gonna
vote on this. We'll have
so
to shelve
we'll
it
have
till
to
the next
wait.
meeting. Yep. We can do that.
And that's it. That's your warrant as it exists today.
Wow, thank you.
The deadline for posting, I think I saw, is Monday, January the 31st. Last day for select board to post warrant and budget at all the polling places.
so we have one more meeting.
Yeah, one more. You have the public. The budget committee has a public hearing this Thursday.
Yep.
And then you have one more meeting. So
And then we meet on the 5th of February for deliberative, correct?
yeah, and we post that as a selectmen's meeting.
Yep.
At deliberative, because at the adjournment of deliberative,
We could have.
if we have to call a meeting to order, we can right there and change our recommendation.
I know the budget committee's done it the last 2 years. A special meeting. So, okay, very good, thank you. So now that brings us to preliminary discussion regarding personnel policy changes.
All right. So a couple of things this evening. I just wanted to introduce. I got some policies that we are supposed to review. I just want to introduce them this evening.
Thank you.
No request of you to take any action. This personnel policy is a thing I want to introduce this night and then bring it back based on your feedback tonight. Bring it back as more of a formal proposal. But there's been a couple of things recently that's happened, and I was taking a look at our personnel policy and then looking at the union contract that we have, and I was actually surprised to see that our union contract was addressing the concerns that I had. So in your portal there, you'll see the first item is the town buyback. So obviously we have a buyback provision where employees once a year can sell back their earned time, and the union can sell back their earned time. Well, one of the things that's been happening on the town side for the non-union employees is that sometimes between the usage and the sellback, they put themselves in a position where they have very little time on the books. And so when something happens and you need some sick time, you need family
You don't have
issues, whatever, you don't have any earned time accrued. When I look at the union contract, they have language, and I highlighted in red, that you can still do the buyback, but at the very least, you need to maintain 10 days, so basically 2 weeks on the books. And remember, earned time concept was taking sick time and vacation time and merging them together. Sick time you never could use.
Mhm.
That was always restricted for those family situations, your own personal health, but you could never use it and you could never cash it in. Vacation was vacation and you could use it, and there was no minimum balance or anything like that. So I do think that when whoever negotiated the union contract and they had that provision in there saying, we'll let you sell back some time, we want you to use the time, but at a minimum, we're not going to let you sell back time unless you maintain at least 2 weeks in your earned time account. So that's the concept I have, and I really just want to use the same. I want it to be the same policy as the union and the non-union.
That's a good idea. I'd keep them the same.
And the second one is separation. Again, it's earned time. In the town side, we've had some separations where employees have given they didn't give a 2 weeks notice, and they just gave us a notice, and it's been sometimes 1 or 2 days, sometimes 4 days. And I can tell you right now, when you don't receive that professional 2 week notice, it causes a lot of management issues. It can cause expenses. It has an impact on the department. We don't have big departments, so it doesn't give us an opportunity to really prepare and gear up. Getting that 2 weeks notice is very helpful for the department head. But we have nothing other than we say that we'd like to have you give a 2 weeks notice. There's no penalty for not doing that. In the union contract, what they have is that if you don't give a 2 weeks notice, then when you cash out your earned time, because when you separate from employment, we pay you all your earned time. And in the union contract, if you don't give a 2 weeks notice, you only get 50% of the value of that earned time. So there's an incentive there for you to give the 2 weeks notice. Now, what I would have is some language that would give the selectmen discretionary authority here. So you would deal with, if some employee submitted their resident, selectmen could waive the 50%, based on a case-by-case basis. You don't know what prompts someone to resign. It could be, medical reasons, family issues. And I don't think anyone should be penalized because of that. But if it's just because, they just not happy working here and just got another job offer, and I don't really care about you, I don't care about the department, I'm just leaving, then that's, the only thing we have is, you didn't give us 2 weeks notice. The value of your earned time is cut in half. And that's basically what the union contract says. So those are the two concepts that you can think of, give me feedback now. Let me know if it's even worth bringing something more formal so you can see what the actual language would look like.
You could do that. I mean, I'm against taking something that somebody has earned. I think once they've earned it, they've earned it. That means they put in the time for it. So I don't know how you fix the problem with somebody leaving without proper notice. But then again, if somebody gets fired, there's no notice there either.
Yeah, and they get 100%. Yeah.
And the other side too, there's another way here. If the position changes, we don't need you anymore. We're not firing you. The position's gone.
Yeah. In that case, you would be compensated 100%. Like I said, I would have a provision in there, a case-by-case basis, that the 50% reduction can be waived by the Board of Selectmen on a case-by-case
Yeah,
basis.
we are in a state of employee at will.
The other way of looking at it, Robert, is to keep the union and non-union the same.
That's the rubber, yeah.
And we can't do anything about the negotiated union contract.
The existing ones we can't change.
So I can bring it back, and again, we'll just look at the proposed language. Again, when I bring it back, you still do not need to vote on it, but we'll just have it on the table and
Okay.
figure out where we want to go with it.
It's good food for discussion. I mean, this is right up Steve Weber's alley. He's usually good when it comes to personnel issues, so I'd be interested in his opinions on this.
Is it effective immediately if it passed, or is it grandfathered if you were already employed? How would you treat that?
Something like this, I think,
Some people are vested.
usually
Maybe
no, I mean,
All
it's,
future employees, new employees.
no, I think it would be a change in the policy, and it would everyone would be put on notice, and you could make it effective July 1st, or you can make it effective April 1st. I mean,
When did the
at the
police-
very least, you want it at least
Every
30
3
days
years.
notice, right? At the very least.
When did the police come up with theirs? Do you know?
Earn time's been around for a while, so
They're 50%.
they're 50%. I don't know, but I mean, I've been here for just over 6 years, and it never changed during
Well,
my negotiations with them.
the reason why I asked that is because if they have all new people have come in since this policy was put in place, and I would assume it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, on the town side, I would be in favor of all new hires, not changing the existing employees' rights, I guess I'd call it, or benefit.
Well, we wouldn't be. I understand where you're coming from, but I wouldn't be taking anything from anyone.
No, you
Just
wouldn't.
letting them know
Unless they left.
that if you're going to resign, you can resign and give us 1 day's notice.
Yeah.
But your payout of your earned time will be reduced 50%.
You're losing
If
something.
you're going to resign, you give us a 2 weeks notice, you get 100% of your earned time. And there's a statement that on a case-by-case basis, this provision can be waived by the Board of Selectmen, because we don't know what prompts people to resign. Like I said, literally, there could be a family issue where you don't have
2 weeks.
someone to watch your kids, like daycare. Like, things happen, things change, and parents and stuff like that. There's all kinds of stuff that can happen, and that's totally understandable. But just so in the police side, this summer we had an officer come in and submit his resignation that day. Came right in,
Yep.
dropped everything, said thank you, walked out. No notice, no nothing. We can never take that right away from an employee. The employee can quit anytime they want, but financially, we're not required to compensate them 100% for the earned time.
Based off their contract.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna think about that one.
It's good food for thought.
Credit cards.
Credit card policy.
So we have a credit card policy. Obviously, we have credit cards. They, I'm sure back when the town first issued credit cards, everyone was a little nervous. Never before had you had town department heads going around with credit cards. You always had to do it the old-fashioned way and have check requests. But I can tell you right now, with the COVID and just the way everything is moved to electronic, we do a lot of transactions through our credit cards. Overall, we have the department heads and everyone that's assigned a credit card, they do a fantastic job. They do not abuse the credit cards, and it just makes their job that much easier. We have, overall, the town has a business account. We have $30,000 of credit. that credit is assigned to different departments based on the size of and demand of their purchasing. John Burnell, when all of his equipment is purchased online. So he has a larger amount. The police department has a large credit amount because a lot of their equipment can be bought online. Someone like me, I have, a $2,000 credit. I very seldom ever use it, but it's more using it for other committee members and stuff like that. That's more of a convenience for them. They'll call us and we end up buying something for them.
Is that where the wings and things came from?
Yeah.
Buffalo wings? Yeah.
The Buffalo
Okay.
wings.
We didn't get invited to that.
Yeah. So,
I'm not going there.
I think it's important for the board to understand all the purchases follow our purchasing procedures. It's just that instead of a paper check, they're paying with their credit card. The employees, as I said, John Burnell has a $10,000 credit limit. Chief Sergeant has a $5,000 credit limit. Road Agent Brown, $2,500. Fire Chief Freitzel, $2,500. Our Finance Director, Karen White, $2,500. Troy Brown, Town Administrator, $2,500. Vicky at the library is $2,500. Our Town Clerk, $2,000. Jerry Pylon, $500. He has a credit card. We recently just issued him one last year and a half. And the purpose of that was he'd be here on a Saturday or something and troubleshooting a faucet or whatever, and he wanted to be able to run to Home Depot and get some stuff. So we got him that account. All these accounts and the credit limits are all reviewed and approved by the Board of Selectmen. So if for any reason throughout the year, one of these department heads asked to see if they could get their credit limit increased, that's something that comes to this board and is voted on publicly.
Okay. How boring is this?
The fund balance policy, it is required by law that we have one. The fund balance is, as we know, the fund balance has different categories. You have some funds that are in there that are restricted. We pretty much just always use what we refer to as the unassigned fund balance, because that's the money that's there and it's available for the Board of Selectmen to recommend to the taxpayers to use it for a specific purpose. The fund balance policy actually sets the retention amount for the unassigned fund balance.
Maximum.
So once a year, when we set our tax rate, DRA goes over our financial audits and they pull data from that. And they actually, when they set the tax rate, there's a form, and they establish what our unassigned, our retention amount is. So when we just did our tax rate this year, the retention is $2,430,296, which represents 9.68% retention. So they have and in our policy, we have a recommendation, a range. DRA has a range of 5% up to 17% is what we should retain as unassigned funds to help with cash flow, help order, just keep the bills being paid, to try to stabilize the tax rate. A lot of these grants, like this evening we just talked about, most grants, we spend the money up front and then we get reimbursed. So, this unassigned fund is our cash flow, and it helps us. We don't borrow money. We don't have to go to the bank and borrow money to be able to pay the county tax bill, which is over $1 million, to pay out a couple $1 million. Well, $1 million to $1.5 million, sometimes $2 million a month to the school. We're able to use the unassigned fund balance. You have seen us typically use as warrant articles the unassigned fund balance to fund one-time capital expenses, or to use the balance to add money to the expendable trust funds. And that's another use for the unassigned fund balance. So again, the recommended retention guidelines by the governmental accounting standards board, DRA kind of recommends it as well, is that we retain 17% to 5 to 17%. Right now, we're currently retaining 9.62%. This policy, if you take a look at it, because it's our town policy, and this is set by the Board of Selectmen. I should have had it highlighted, but I think we are 8 to 12%. Yes. So on page, the last page there, even though the DRA and the General Accounting Standard Boards are saying, look, we recommend you retain anywhere from 5 to 17%. This policy says that we're going to maintain a balance of 8 to 12%. And currently right now, our retention is 9%.
So it's
And
really.
it hasn't really changed in the last couple of years. It's always been right around 8-9%.
All we've done here is narrow down what the state has said for a guideline.
Yeah.
Instead
So
of
we,
5 to 17, 8 to 12.
Why would we do that?
you have the right to change that range, but I think it works. I wasn't around when this was set, but that range, I do think it works for this town. We've been able to use the unassigned fund balance to do things on the warrant every single year. And we also have seen the unassigned fund balance grow every year. So I think we're really in a good spot.
No, I understand that, but if the guidelines put forward by the state or whoever is 5 to 17, why would we narrow that?
I wouldn't. I think if we dropped our retention down to 5%, I think it could put us in a position where we wouldn't be able to cash flow the operation of our town and school.
I was just thinking that it would give us more flexibility with that.
If you increase the range, you say.
Yes.
Yeah. It could.
I think also if you keep it at a shorter range, it keeps your money line more flat than doing this. And we don't want to get, not this board because we're pretty tight, but the future board to spend, want to jump it up to 17% so they can spend it, or spend too far and then you're down to 5%.
Yeah.
But these are guidelines.
They're
though, right?
guidelines.
That's right.
So if we needed to go less or more, you could do that.
I would
We
come
could
to
do
you
that.
and say, we've just exceeded the 12, just say
The guideline.
next year, DRA calculates that we are retaining 15%, which is outside your guidance. I would have to come to this board and make you aware of that, and then have a discussion of maybe that year you feel you don't need, to have 15%, and you could use that money to. The only thing you can do is use it to reduce taxes in September. It's the only thing you can do, or agree to lower, that you would have some articles next year to vote on. But it would be a discussion of the board, and we haven't been in that position. I don't see us exceeding the 12%.
I like staying steady.
Depending on where the economy is going, our budgets are tighter now. We're turning in less money, and I don't see us having a lot of surplus revenue going in the future too. So I do think we're going to be stable.
So 8 to 12.
It works. Yep.
Keep us
But it's-
level.
Not to say that one day we find out we're at 15%, and then we're going to have that discussion about what do you want to do?
Offset the cost.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay.
May I have one clarification on
Sure.
that? On page 4 of 4, when you have this, the bar here, you have the orange and yellow.
Oh, yeah. That's a DRA one.
It
Okay.
says, like 3 sentences above, the recommendation from the accounting group, a minimum you should have in that fund is no less than 2 months of regular general fund operating revenues. Are we within that?
So that's that is this range.
That's the
the
safety.
percentage, yeah. That we're
But do
talking
we
about.
have 2 months
So
of,
we do.
to cover
yeah.
the bills? Okay, I thought, it said 2 to 3, but we're good? All right.
And I'm glad you pointed that out because that's the state's calculation right there that they do for us.
Very good.
Thank you.
So, your next meeting, I'll have these policies on. You'll, take action on because you want to approve them
We'll
or,
smile.
or amend them, whatever. And then I'll also introduce 2 new policies. I want to work on some policy reviews this year, 2022. I think COVID put us on a little break and we need to get back on that. So if you like that approach where we just introduce it and then the next meeting we come back and ask you to approve it.
Are you still gonna talk to us again now, huh?
CMA contracts?
CMA contract. So, we haven't heard, we haven't heard a lot about our community development block grant for the Litchfield Landing Cooperative Park on
Yeah.
Route 102. So if you remember, they came to us, asked us to apply, they applied for the grant, but they're not able to receive the grant. It had to be funneled through the town. We were the only eligible agency to apply for it. And what they're looking to do is do a study, I call it existing conditions, of their infrastructure in the park. Primarily, it's water distribution, but they are going to be taking a look at sewer and electric and everything, because if you're going to design a new water distribution center system, you need to plan for cable, gas lines, everything, right? So they've been working. They put out an RFP, went through the town, and they've selected CMA as the engineering firm to do the work. We only got 2 proposals. CMA did come in the lowest, but both proposals look great. This is for $23,900. The grant itself, I think, was for $25,000. So it should take about, once we get the contract in place, I understand the study should be done in about 6 months.
6 months.
And from there, if everything goes right, most likely this park will be back and asking you to go to the next level to actually apply for funding to install the new infrastructure. So it's usually, these grants are done in 2 steps. First one's the planning and feasibility, and then the construction.
Yep, they are done like that.
So I do need a motion from the board to approve the CMA contract in the amount of $23,900 for the community development block grant for the Litchfield Landing Cooperative Feasibility Study.
So move.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussions? No? All right, we will take a vote. A roll call vote. Ms. Queenan,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's.
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 4-0-0.
Can you make this next one shorter?
I hope. Town administrator report. So I did report on the plow truck accident. Very fortunate that our driver was not injured. And we had no, the truck itself was not damaged. And the truck is up and running and back in service 100%. And I mentioned earlier too that we have 3 plow trucks that are out of service currently right now. We hope that at least one of them will get back in service. I'll keep you posted on that. The budget committee hearing is this Thursday at 7:00. That will be at Campbell High School auditorium. As you know, we have a vacancy in the deputy clerk position. Terry has advertised that. She's meeting with people. I think she's actually having some good discussions. So I'm hopeful that we'll have a good outcome there. But what I wanted to talk to this evening, the board about is the updated plan that we just received last Wednesday, from New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services regarding the isolation and quarantine guidance. As you know, we as a town through this whole pandemic, we've been really following and adhering to the guidance that's been set by New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services. They have, as you know, a lot in the newspaper, a lot of discussion about changing the isolation and quarantining time limits, depending on whether you're vaccinated or not, and whether you've had contact with a household, or if it's just sort of out there in the grocery store or something. Basically, what they've done is, and I always have to go back and look at this thing, and read it. Each case that I learn about, we are having activity with our staff. There are family members that are testing positive, and our staff, for the most part, have been fully vaccinated and boosted. But in the most part, whether you're vaccinated or not, well, if you're not vaccinated, you're in a 5-day isolation period. That's what they're recommending.
That's if you test positive.
If you test positive. So 5 days. Then after that, they recommend that you wear a mask for another 5 days, that you could go back to work, whatever. If you're fully vaccinated, they're saying that you could come to work, but you wear your mask.
As long as you don't have symptoms.
As long as you don't have, the symptoms, and you don't have
and all that
symptoms.
stuff.
And
Well, that
so I've had some situations happen recently since this just came out, and I really would like to stick to, I don't mind the 5 days, but that if we have any type of incident, I want to follow the guidelines, but take it one step a little further and ask that our employees wait out the 5 days and make sure they test negative before coming back, and then ask them to wear their mask for the next 5 days. But to have them not come into the office for 5 days, even though if they're vaccinated and boosted, they could show up and work, but I don't think the staff's comfortable with that, and I don't really want to take any risk. Again, some of our departments are 1 or 2 person departments, and we just can't take the risk.
this was a point of discussion the other night, briefly at the budget committee with the school. People that are vaccinated that come in contact or live with people who have tested positive are coming into work. And in a few cases, a couple days later, now they're positive. So for 2 or 3 days, that person's in that building and they're spreading because they've got it. They just didn't show the symptoms for 2 or 3 days. I think what you're stating is very prudent. I think it's very smart. If you're around somebody that's got it, period, wait out the 5 days. You're not going to lose your job. Come back, wear a mask, test before you come back. I think that's a great idea, Troy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Last year, regardless of your status, you came around it, you sat out, and I think it helped to control it. This year, it's out of control. It's absolutely out of control.
Mhm.
And if we don't do something to, whatever we can do to help stop it, then we're not doing our jobs here. All right. I'd be interested in anybody else's opinion. Sorry to get on a soapbox.
I was surprised when I read this. The up-to-date definition of COVID meant that you not only had your first 2 shots, but you also had to have your booster shot, or you were not considered.
Or you're not considered
up to date.
Yeah, you're not considered up.
So then you
vaccinated
go
up
They
to
into
date.
a
changed the
different-
word that very subtly.
Yeah.
They
So then you
changed
go
the
and follow
word.
different guidelines because you don't have the booster shot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are not up to date. Yeah.
There's been so much misinformation about this through this whole thing, and after a while, people don't know what to believe and what not to believe, Just here this week, there was a case that was at the Supreme Court, the OSHA
Yep.
requiring a mandate, was at the Supreme Court. And one of the justices said there were 100,000 children hospitalized for COVID and on ventilators, which was total misinformation. And this was a Supreme Court justice. I mean, there's just so much misinformation about, we sat with the plexiglass
Mhm.
Yeah, right,
dividers.
yeah. Yep.
And you don't see that anymore. I see that there are schools that still have that. So do you need plexiglass dividers or not, you know?
Mhm.
Everybody was, when we first started, you know, was afraid of germs on surfaces.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know.
I think, I mean, obviously now we have, on the most part, people have been able to get vaccinated if they wanted to. But
yet
yeah, I
we
mean,
have-
if you think about where we were, we had Plaxid dividers, we're Cloroxing. I mean, it's tough.
Even though we have, everybody's vaccinated, I say everyone, you know, but we have more people, more active cases
Yep.
than
We
ever
had-
before, and we didn't have vaccinations.
Yep.
So it's so crazy, and people don't know what to believe. You know, it's
We got 2 variants that came in since the original part of this thing too.
Yeah.
So that added to the whole thing. You know, my daughter works at the Elliott. She works part-time in the ICU, besides being a full-time in the cath lab. And she has seen a lot of things. She's very, the ones that are up there did not get their shots. Okay, 90% of them did not get the shots. Most of the 8 to 10%, they're not bad, but the ones that are severe, shotless.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, guys. You know, I know there's 2 sides to this whole thing out there. So I know I protect myself because of my grandkids, like Rich does, and everybody else. You know, and Bobby especially. Oh my God.
Well,
No, it's the variant. I mean, I didn't
It's the
realize
variance that's
that,
really been.
that from what I read just the other day was that we're dealing more with the Delta variant.
Correct.
Still, the Omicron is not. It's
It's
here,
a big issue.
but it's not. It's the
Oh,
Delta.
really?
Yeah, that's what I just read. And I thought the Omicron was what's.
The Omicron is in the news.
symptoms
It's new.
are
So,
lesser with the Omicron.
So, we got more variants to deal with.
I saw something on television, which gave a figure of like 90% was Omicron,
Yeah.
but that could have been isolated to New York City or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I just saw this in
Patients
New
of
Hampshire.
patients.
We have it here, but I guess it's not the dominant. I think it's still Delta that's going around predominantly.
There's so. there's
I
so-
shouldn't be throwing facts out there because
I don't want
I'm
to.
talking about, but
I wear a mask.
so I just
Stay away from
I think
people.
it's good that I can talk with all our departments and say, look, at a minimum, we're going to be cautious and let's enforce a 5-day stay at home and let's make sure we test negative, come back to work, wear your mask for 5 days. And that's our consistent policy.
No issues with that. Oh boy, Selectmen's report.
That's it for me.
You made that short.
Thank you for that.
Don't bring it up again.
Change the guidance you watch. There's a lot of upset people that
I know.
guidance came out. A lot of upset. You watch, it'll be changing soon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Selectmen reports. Mrs. Queen.
Me?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? I won't be as long as
Ladies
last
first.
time. The planning board has a meeting this Wednesday, January 12th, 7:00 here at the town hall. It's going to be a public hearing to consider changes to the Litchfield zoning regulations and site plan regulations. You mentioned we had 4 that were coming. I guess there's 4 or 5, it depends. We're going to have something on the floodplain conservation district, which exists today, that we found that we were only including non-residential. We're going to include residential. It's been an oversight for a while. We're looking at all 4 commercial districts, the 2 in the north and the 2 in the south. We're looking at what types of warehouses can be in there and what sizes of stores are allowed in certain regions. Sidewalks might be going up into the northern part of the commercial districts as well. But
Something else to
basically, it's
plow.
the warehouse fulfillment distribution center sizes. I think we're trying to control it to be 75,000 feet or less. You can do it with no problem. If you're between 75,000 and 150,000 square feet, you can get a conditional use permit. And anything over 150,000 square feet, probably not allowed.
So no Amazon.
No Amazon. And then there was one about if you were doing like minor site plans or an expedited review of a farm, we're going to try to do an expedited site plan review for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So that's on this Wednesday, the 12th here. Our normal next meeting will be January 18th on a Tuesday, 7 p.m. at the town hall here.
Next week.
The only real site plan in front of us was Mel's came back for a site plan amendment. And they are doing a lot of changes to get their winter light show exhibit ready for next year, where a lot of Christmas lights will be where the hayride is now. And it'll be, you stay in your car and you drive through, it's going in the opposite direction. So we're working with that. And that's COVID friendly and all of that. As far as Nrpc is concerned, the next full commissioner meeting will be March 16th. We meet quarterly. It'll be 7 p.m. at 30 Temple Street in Nashua, New Hampshire. And the only thing I would like to say here, other than the meeting, is I would like to maybe have a discussion in the future of maybe getting a subcommittee together to work with Nrpc and our town to look at some land in town to see if there's excess land, whether it's owned by the town, the state, or DOT, and just identify what kind of property that is.
Okay.
We'll have a discussion about that when Stephen is back.
That's a good idea, though.
It is a good idea.
And that's all I have.
Very good. Mr. Salas.
The Heritage Commission was scheduled to meet tomorrow, but since they have no pressing business, it's been delayed until next month. So,
Stay home. It's going to be cold.
yeah, actually, I have a funeral to go to in Littleton.
Oh, boy.
It's warm
So
out there.
the ride home is going to be, let's hope the furnace or the heater keeps working, you know?
Yep. No top down, right?
No.
All right, Mr. Lynch.
Conservation Commission hasn't met. We're good. We want to meet this month. There's a lot of, they possibly this month they may have postponed it. What I'm seeing. There's not much going on right now. So
And Mr. Weber's not here tonight, so we don't have anything from the Emergency Management or the Rec Commission or the school facilities or the capital improvement. And for me, the Budget Committee, we meet again Thursday night for the presentation, the Budget Committee's presentation to the public. And then we have deliberative coming up after that. So almost wrapped up. It's been 3 years of fun.
you're like, no, there's
No, some good people on that committee.
there's that too, but you like
Really
the
is.
numbers.
Okay, that wraps our normal business. We do have one more item in non-public under RSA 91-A semicolon 3(2) parentheses A, employee dismissal, promotion, compensation, disciplining, or investigation. So, taking in.
Make a motion, we go into non-public?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Ms. Queenan,
Aye.
Mr. Salas,
Aye.
Mr. Lynch.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 4-0-0. Everyone have a wonderful night. Stay inside tomorrow. Drink plenty of cocoa. It's going to be cold. Put a little brandy in it.
One thing
I
you
didn't
might
say
want to
that.
say is we don't anticipate going back into public session.
Oh, yes, we do not anticipate going back into public session, except for the purposes of adjourning this meeting. How's that? Everyone have a wonderful night.